We are taking a look at Jake Gyllenhaal's workout today. Many of you have probably seen this one. I know I popped up and I wasn't planning on doing this, but I think I'm gonna jump on the bandwagon and take a look at his training and see if it's up to par. What's up everyone, Jason Brown here, the King of Programming. We're back for another program review. This is actually a workout review from Jake Gyllenhaal. Now, I've seen a lot of workout reviews from people out there just ripping apart these celebrity trainers' training style and all the fluff and nonsense that tends to be in a lot of these training programs. And I would have to agree with a lot of the stuff I've seen. I don't know if that's the case here with Jake. I haven't watched this video yet, but I've seen a lot kind of just on the interwebs of this going viral, all right? So I definitely wanted to take a look. I thought this would be interesting to take a peek at. And when I do these, I like to do them as on the spot as possible so I can give you guys my real reaction. Now, a lot of you guys have been recommending training programs to me to review. I have two things for you guys. One, it needs to have a 7-day trial, and two, it needs to be from someone with a big name. Okay, these programs need to be being used by thousands of people, and obviously it helps get you guys to watch it. A lot of people are not gonna watch a program from someone that has 20 people doing it. So just wanted to put that out there for you guys, just a little bit of a help for me on my end so you guys can get more information and more program reviews that you wanna see. So I'd appreciate that. So let's get right into it today. Again, Jake Gyllenhaal, we are looking at his training, and again, I've never done one of these before where I'm just looking at the training, so might be a little bit clunky, so I appreciate you guys bearing with me. All right, obviously, he's got a great physique, we know that. And one other thing I wanted to say before I start is that a lot of this stuff is portrayed in a way to get people to watch it, to get people to maybe do it. A lot of the stuff, unfortunately though, that is very impactful, like the foundational movement patterns, doing aerobic training, isn't very sexy. Okay, it doesn't get a whole lot of likes. I've been saying a lot of the same things now for a decade on social media. Now, anytime I talk about doing steady state cardio, you gotta get creative with ways you say it, but I will tell you that obviously the stuff that these guys are doing, yeah, it looks sexy, but is it the thing that we should be doing? That's another question to ask.
What we're doing is real.
All right, yeah, great physique, we know that. All right, so he was getting in shape for this movie, so let's check out what we've got here. Okay, so it looks like he's doing some mobility work for his warm-up.
The Proteus is an amazing piece of equipment used mostly by
The Proteus, I've seen this before, I've never used it myself.
increased power production. We use it primarily for priming the nervous system, proprioception, learning movement patterns, and a lot for warming up joints and metabolic training.
Helps with power and build core strength. Okay, so priming the nervous system, yes. Doing it for higher repetitions, no. Okay, so it looked like he was doing it there for higher repetition sets. Power, we want to stay kind of in the 3 to 4 rep range where they're just quick, explosive bouts. We're resting and then we're repeating. Let's see how the rest plays out. We're still working on it. You guys can see what I see. It looks like he's doing higher rep sets. No Proteus, shadow box for 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 3 to 4 rounds. I have no problem with this as long as you're doing short bouts and then resting. That's going to allow for a better primer as opposed to just going for 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, which tends to be more of a conditioning element, conditioning piece prior to us doing the actual training. Okay, isometric inverted row.
Strength and stamina at different joint angles.
I mean, I like that. I like that a lot. Hard to tell what's going on here. It's hard to tell if this is the actual full training session from start to finish, but he's got sled work next. I mean, I don't have any problem with any of this stuff as a modality, but really the question is where does that fall within the training session for that day?
Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Stress, adapt, recover, on repeat for well over a year. That's discipline. That's patience. That's commitment.
I'm sitting in here and I feel a lot of gratitude, but
I already saw the first comment says, don't forget the professional steroid cycle. So far, let's just recap what we have here. We've got some primer work, which looks like it's done for 2 higher repetitions to actually be primer work. We've got some isometric holds with the row. I have no problem with that. And then we've got some sled work, and then he's got him in an ice bath here just talking about his level of discipline.
To follow in Patrick's footsteps, it was incredible to watch. Incredible to see him morph into his character.
We always keep the heavy primitive work one way, shape, or form, whether it's squats or deadlifts, and the variations thereof. We want to keep the muscle coordination at a high.
Okay, so I would agree with that. I think keeping the heavier lifts, he's got a safety bar squat here, 3 to 4 sets of, I think it was 6 to 8 reps, which is perfectly fine. But I would ask the question, if we've already done sled work, which it said 2 to 3 rounds of sled work, it looked like a pretty decent length of turf that they had, did an isometric row. Will that impact the squat work? Probably not hugely, unless you're going for a true max or you're trying to do some speed work. So overall, there's nothing really wrong with this training.
One way, shape, or form, whether it's squats or deadlifts, and the variations
3 to
thereof.
4 sets of 6 to 8 reps. So you guys probably know by now, I probably would say, what? The rest interval needs to be longer. I don't see rest interval. No safety bar, do kettlebell front squats. Not really a comparable sub, in my opinion.
It seems to be one of the limiting factors in the gym.
Grip work, perfectly fine. But again, where does it fall within the training session? It does correlate to longevity. There is some supported research on that. Kind of a general predictor of overall health, if you will.
Here we see some examples more relatable to MMA training, keeping the body in check with offset loading and movements more imperative to sport.
The diet part of this is really
Is nutrition. We're not going to delve into that because that's not my thing. So he's got essentially a reaching TRX row variation where he's using some resistance in the opposing arm.
We keep things in balance with push-pull rips.
Push-pull rips. A lot of sexy shit here, guys. I know you're already thinking, how am I going to put this in my own training program? Okay, what's next? I'm just doing everything today. VersaClimber, 20 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 6 to 8 rounds. Okay, so let's talk about what we've seen here. So we started off with some primer work. We had that piece of equipment, I forget the name of it now, Proteus or whatever. You can certainly do that with a landmine rotation of press, great variation to use for that. 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps per side, rest 60 seconds between sets with a light barbell, maybe even an empty bar if you're not used to using that movement, but that's a good comparable sub. So that'd be number 1. The way they're doing it, it looked like it was for higher repetitions. These are tough to look at because I'm not looking at his actual program, but this is what I would say we could do to improve this session. So I would do that as my primer. Safety bar squat I would do next. I would work for 3 heavy sets, 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps with a workload. So we do 3 to 4 sets just to warm up, and then 3 sets with a workload with 1 to 2 reps in the tank. That would be my second movement. The sled work, certainly you could do it a number of ways. You could superset that with your isometric row variation, go back and forth between the two. A lot of different things you can do with the sled. He was doing a bear crawl, he was doing a push, he was doing, looks like an isometric row hold. So a lot of great things that you can potentially do there. But where does that need to fall in the session? I would put that lower in the session. He had some push-pull work with the free motion machine. I'd probably make that as my second movement of the day. VersaClimber stuff at the end. So let's just kind of go through this again. We've got primer, safety bar squat as our main movement. We've got some push-pull work with the free motion machine. I would probably superset that with that TRX row variation. Sled work, I would probably just do the sled work at the end and just not use the VersaClimber. You could just do the sled work. If you wanted to, you could do it in conjunction with the VersaClimber. But I think overall, there's not really a whole lot that's wrong with this. I think the modalities are fine. I think that the things that the trainer was saying, I wouldn't disagree with them. But again, if someone looks at this, someone like you looks at this, it's like, it looks very sexy. But in reality, it's not really that much different than, that's not that much different than the way I program. But I would organize it a little bit different. Obviously, most people are not going to have access to that machine. So again, we would use a substitute like the landmine rotation and press. Most people don't have access to the free motion. So there are some concessions that we would make. But I think overall, if I was trying to look at this session as what it is, we've got a squat pattern, we've got a press pattern, we've got a pull pattern. Sled work, obviously getting a low position could obviously have a big component as far as the posterior chain. So I'd like to see a hinge pattern in there, maybe a pull-up variation. The grip work certainly fits in there as well. That could be something you do at the end of the session of the day. But overall, it's not a bad training session. I would love to see his full training program across a week to really give you guys my feedback to how things are organized, how it's laid out, where we're doing what. But training someone for a movie role or a high-level performance event, whatever it is, the fundamentals of program design still apply. So everything we talk about in reviews, exercise order, exercise selection, sets, reps, and rest intervals, conditioning, all of that stuff applies. It needs to be organized across the week. There needs to be a clear intent to each day. We need to follow fundamentals. We need to follow proper rest intervals. And then obviously you have the element of creativity. And if you're training at a really awesome facility like he is, then that obviously gives you a little bit more room to do different things with different pieces of machines. So overall, I think it's fine. I'm probably gonna be one of the few people that says a celebrities training program is not complete dog shit. I think it's perfectly fine, but without seeing more and actually seeing the program, it's hard for me to sit here and tell you that it's a bad program without knowing the actual tenets of it and how it's laid out. If you guys want me to review more celebrity training sessions, drop them in the comments, drop me a link so I can check them out. I'd be happy to go into more of these and give you guys my feedback. And as always, results are king.
Best program available on the internet today.
I think it's very difficult to find a trainer like Jason that
Since joining Everyday Heroes, I feel like I've stopped working out and actually started training.